Tributes continue to pour in for the late former Deputy President David Mabuza, who passed away on Thursday afternoon. We'll unpack the complex legacy of the cat and a bit of him in his own words. Then we turn to the official opposition with a very public blow being dealt to the uMkhonto weSizwe party spokesperson Ndlela, who appears to have been caught out in a lie and iced out of anything to do with the organization's parliamentary activities. So it looks like the first round goes to MK caucus leader Dr. John Hlophe and Chief Whip Colleen Makubele, who held their own fiery briefing this week to clean house. But this might not be over just yet, because as we know, with all things related to this party, it's not over until President Jacob Zuma says it's over. And the noisy brouhaha between the ANC and DA within the Government of National Unity is far from over, with the latter opening another case against a Lutuli House lieutenant. I'm Ziyanda Ngcobo, and this is your week in politics.
David Mabuza, swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa.
Singumdeni oyi-1 siyi-ANC yangisho.
Yeah, don't jump the gun, don't jump the gun.
Deputy President David Mabuza has indicated his wish to step down from his position.
President Cyril Ramaphosa says South Africa owes his former deputy gratitude for his deep commitment to the liberation struggle and the nation's development.
As you are all aware, Your Excellency, South Africa is today mourning the passing of our former Deputy President, David Mabuza, who was my Deputy President in the 6th administration rather. He served as the Deputy President of the Republic from 2018 to 2023, and before that as the Premier of one of our provinces, Mpumalanga. It is appropriate that we pay tribute to him on this occasion.
Mabuza's successor, Paul Mashatile, visited the family home in Johannesburg on behalf of the presidency to pay condolences to the family. Mashatile reflected on the 2017 ANC elective conference at Nasrec, where the former Mpumalanga Premier tilted the scales against Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma's faction and catapulted Cyril Ramaphosa to the union buildings.
Comrade Didi, the conference is now with us. We need to decide whether we support Nkosazana or Comrade Nkosazana or Comrade Cyril. And he said, no, I support unity. So I said, no, but we need a name. On the ballot, you can't write unity. But he insisted, he says, no, unity went to Mpumalanga. And we said, what is Mpumalanga saying? They said, unity. But there's something I would always remember is that he said to me, he was asked a question by one of my comrades to say, ultimately, what are you going to do? And he said, Lau po lau fela kona nyo fela kon. Meaning, what Comrade Paul decides is the ultimate route we will take. That's where I will be. And that's actually what happened.
Within the ANC, Mabuza's continuous ascension through the ranks of the party tells a story of his political acumen and, for some perhaps, his skullduggery.
Umuntu uyalimala, umuntu somlimazi. Because it's limele. Limele lapha umuntu semshaya. We can't afford. After this
bese sinikeza umuntu oyodlala ngalento le. No. Simshaya manje. Ufa manje.
This was best displayed during the era of the so-called Premier League, where the provincial leaders of Mpumalanga, Free State and Northwest formed a formidable bloc that supported former President Jacob Zuma and the Radical Economic Transformation faction. This grouping included three-time chairman Ace Magashule, who's reflected on the betrayal at the 2017 National Conference.
Well, politics is politics, and friendship is friendship, comradeship is comradeship. Never mind what happened, I think we moved on. Because when we're engaging, even up to the last point, President Zuma said, the man is reliable, let's take his word. We hear the stories that is going to change and all that. And politics is politics. We took it for, and then we still, beyond 2017, we still work together.
And that's when you said, it's only 5 years, comrades. And that never came.
No,
that
me
never
and
came
him,
to pass.
Even in the leadership of 2017 to 2022,
Yeah.
we were still working very close together. We are still brothers. We are still friends.
This has been echoed by former political analyst and now Public Service Commission Chair Somadoda Figeni, who says the cat had the ability to be a wolf in sheep's skin and emerge as a kingmaker.
A very complex and crafty, sophisticated politician who was able to outwit some of his political opponents and keep them guessing. He is probably one of the most dominant figures we have seen in the Mpumalanga politics, probably just comparable to Dr. Posa.
Yes.
And in the national stage, equally so, he is one person who will always be remembered for his last-minute decision, which swayed the voting, for ANC presidency towards Cyril Ramaphosa, and he ended up being, the deputy president of the country.
Mabuza's political home until the end, the ANC, has remembered him for being able to unite the organization through a turbulent transition.
What you have done in Polokwane, what you have done in Mangaung, it can't be repeated. I'm standing here as if I was not party to that. I'm talking as if I was not party to it. To be honest with you, I was an active participant. I was active in supporting a certain faction, and every time the faction that I belonged to saw the light of the day, every time, every time we'll win, only to realize the damage. Hey, we have caused such a huge damage. In fact, that thing was wrong. What we were doing was wrong. We could have tried to unify the movement rather than entrenching factionalism.
He will be remembered for many things, but one of the things is going to be remembered by the ANC, especially at that time in history, was the pivotal role he played in making sure that the succession race in the ANC is managed as maturely as possible, and making sure that he reaches out to everyone around the table to search for unity.
In the province of Mpumalanga, it was common for Mabuza to be referred to as Lomdzala, meaning the elder, because of the towering figure he became in the region and the number of young people he groomed in politics there. One such person is former Premier and now Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces.
He has played a big role in the lives of many of us as citizens of Mpumalanga. Hence, he has earned a name which he was affectionately known as Ubhuti Lomdzala, meaning he was a big brother, not only to his siblings, but the entire community of Mpumalanga. That on its own tells a story. It speaks volume of how people regarded him.
Before the likes of Refilwe Mthweni-Tsipane, there was Matthews Posa, who was tasked by the late President Nelson Mandela in 1994 with setting up an executive in Mpumalanga. It was at this point that Mabuza was called upon to serve after having fought against apartheid through playing various roles in the struggle.
I called him from a school where he was teacher, a mere teacher, and he drove to my office, and I said to him, Comedidi, you're going to be the first MEC of education. He said, what do I know about being an MEC? I said, what do I know about the premier? We're all going to learn. It's a learning camp. We must just do the best for our people. And of course, we did the best for our people. Together as a collective, him and others working together, we expanded the N4. You know, we built a new airport for the province. We had a little beginning aerodrome. We built huge government complexes, huge malls, inspired infrastructure, private sector to invest in the province, in every town, and grow the economy of that province.
National Assembly Speaker Togo Didiza has remembered Mabuza's decisiveness as a leader despite his composed demeanor at most times.
The role that the Deputy President, even though he came in 2018 and again in 2019, which was the sixth administration, he played that role very well. And interestingly, he was a very calm person by nature, but also very firm when it came to ensuring that decisions that are taken are implemented. He was also able to follow through, and in his calmness, he was able to even deal with difficult questions that are posed to him as the member of cabinet and as the deputy president, and very candid in his response.
When we come back, I'll tell you all about how MK Party's leader in Parliament, Dr. John Hlophe, has been given umshinwake to run his affairs independently in that arm of the state. There continues to be a fallout internally over those who've been part of building the organization and those who only came in after last year's elections. I'll also tell you more about the latest bickering between the ANC and DA and just how much longer can South Africans tolerate this. Stay tuned.
Before Rosemary Ndlovu, there was Daisy Demelka, the White Widow. Daisy was a South African nurse who poisoned two husbands and her only son for their life insurance. In 1909, Daisy was married to William Alfred Carl. 14 years later, he died foaming at the mouth and screaming in agony. Daisy inherited £1,795 from his will. Her second husband, Robert Sprout, met the same fate as her previous husband, and Daisy inherited over £4,560. Her son Rhodes, aged 20, fell ill and died after drinking coffee from a flask she had prepared. She received £100 from Rhodes' life insurance policy. Demelka was arrested and charged with the murders of all three men and was hanged on the 30th of December 1932 at Pretoria Central Prison.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned to Newzroom Afrika here on channel 405. I don't know about you, but the bar seems to be low across political parties in South Africa, at least not the uMkhonto weSizwe party. This week kicked off with letters and counter letters being exchanged where factions have run to the principal's office, which in this case is code for uNkandla, where MK President Jacob Zuma resides. On the one hand, party spokesperson Nhlamulo Ndlela confirmed the existence of a letter purportedly by the parliamentary caucus to to complain about Chief Whip Colleen Makhubele and her leadership style, which was described as autocratic. On the other, there was a document circulating on social media that Dr. John Hlophe wrote a scathing letter removing Ndlela from the whippery because of his and Duduzile Zuma Sambudla's apparent disruptive behavior. Now, this caused the raucous confusion until things came to a head by Thursday afternoon. But it all began on Tuesday when uMkhonto weSizwe national spokesperson Nhlamulo Ndlela denied on Newzroom Afrika that he'd been removed from the whippery in Parliament. At the time, Ndlela claimed he'd not received such a letter and had personally spoken to Hlophe, who gave him a different report.
I've had a conversation with the party leader, Dr. Hlophe, and party leader then said to me, in his response to say, Sompisi, he refers to me as Sompisi, my digital signature has been abused. And I pretty much left it at that. So effectively, I've never seen that letter in its physical form. I've never received it. And when I spoke to the Deputy President and party leader in Parliament, that was his response to me, that his digital signature has been abused. And I guess that in of itself is telling.
It was on that very same Tuesday where another letter surfaced on social media that members of the MK caucus had also written to Zuma to complain about newly elected Chief Whip Colleen Makhubele's leadership style and describing it as autocratic. But by Thursday afternoon, when Makhubele and Hlophe held a briefing, the pair basically called their party spokesperson a liar in not so many words.
Let me confirm categorically that the letter came from my office. It was on the strength of that letter dated the 26th of June, 23rd of June, in terms of which Commander Ndlela was removed. Interestingly, as he was busy saying he did not receive the letter, I got an SMS, a WhatsApp from my administrator, my PA, saying that, she still calls me Judge, saying that, Judge, here is proof that this was sent to Commander Ndlela on the same day. He carried on saying that he didn't receive it. He repeated those allegations in the last caucus that we had. The bottom line is that the letter was sent to him before I sent it to the President, advising him of the significant changes that had taken place.
Hlophe didn't stop there. He was unflinching about the power he yields in Parliament and who gets to exercise it. He also hastened to add that the changes to the whippery are nothing to fuss about and are not symptomatic of any unraveling on their part.
Furthermore, I can assure you, I'm the head of the party. I'm the party leader here in government. Here in Parliament. If any complaint is made against any staff member or any MP, it's brought to me because I'm ultimately responsible. There is no letter, there is no petition in terms of which MPs are calling for the head of the Chief Whip. This is a figment of someone's imagination, quite frankly.
In the midst of all the confusion and growing wave of internal challenges surrounding the MK party this week, a resignation came from a regional coordinator in the uMkhonto district who sharply criticized the organization as a family and friends business. This echoes the sentiments expressed by former Secretary General Floyd Shivambu. In his scathing resignation letter, Eugene Ndlangamandla cited the unfair treatment of members as a core issue. He has since announced his move to join Shivambu's Mayibuye consultation team.
The leadership of the MK ibafeyilile abantu base South Africa abayivotele ngokuningi beyethemba because each and every day it's getting worse. Ayikho into eright yenzakalayo noma obonayo ukuthi izokwenzeka mhlawumbe ngelinye lamalanga and besilokhu siyikhuluma le nto singaphakathi ukuthi no abake bezame ukulungisa izinto zangaphakathi behlele ngendlela efanele uthena kufika uComrade uFloyd Shivambu ngicabanga ukuthi wonke umuntu ubonile MK izama ukuthatha i-direction ye-organization ukuthi organization kumele operate kanjani.
The very noisy catfight in the Government of National Unity, where the DA makes empty threats, continues. This time around, the second biggest partner of the GNU threatened to vote against the budgets of some ministers, namely those of the Higher Education and Human Settlements departments. Once again, there was an unlikely agreement on issues, with the DA, EFF and MK party all rejecting Nkabane's budget. This week, the National Assembly and National Council of Provinces debated departmental plans and budget allocations. But the ANC caucus is not bothered.
As we did with the fiscal framework, there's no way that a withdrawal of the vote or a vote against by the Democratic Alliance will in any way result in the budgets of higher education and training as well as human settlement not being passed. I think we will have a majority, more than 200 members who will stand up and support the budget on the 23rd of July. So I don't know how the DA visualizes its success in this regard.
On Monday, Higher Education Minister Nobushe, who's under fire for allegedly lying in Parliament and about the appointment of politically connected individuals to seaters, says she won't be resigning anytime soon.
I'm the right person for this position. I expect a pushback, hence we are making some turnaround strategies, especially in NSFAS. There are many contracts that were terminating that we believe that they were appointed irregular. So one expects this pushback that it might be some of the reasons.
As a part of the series of actions the DA has in its arsenal, it has threatened to bring a motion of no confidence against President Cyril Ramaphosa. Even then, the second largest GNU partner is confident that it will have enough numbers to make good on their promise.
And if Cyril makes himself indistinguishable from Paul Mashatile and the corrupt RET faction, we will also indicate to them that we have the numbers to bring down the president. And we will use those numbers. We came very, very close to doing so. A motion of no confidence was actually in the frame.
On Monday, the ANC's National Working Committee discussed the DA's conduct and what steps should be taken next. This also comes at a time when the NEC has postponed 2 meetings in which the possible ousting of the DA would have been high on the agenda.
Once you make a decision that you are submitting a motion of no confidence, you are effectively and literally walking away from the Government of National Unity. And that will require the ANC and the rest of the parties who are in the GNU to apply their minds in terms of how to deal with what will inevitably become a reconfiguration of the GNU.
Out of the 400 seats in Parliament, the DA only has 89, which means it would either need to work with the MK party and EFF, which is unlikely, or bank on a significant chunk of the ANC caucus backing their motion. This didn't stop Helen Ziller, though, from heading to the Cape Town Central Police Station on Tuesday to open a case against Nkabane for the Seaters saga.
What has been done by Minister Nkabane is fraud and misleading Parliament, both of which are criminal contraventions. Now, we obviously can't let that go. We can't let that ride, even though certain deployed cadres have quickly been withdrawn as part of the cover-up. We see what's going on, and we see just how much ANC ministers, to support and deploy ANC cadres, are prepared to put people who are accountable to themselves into positions that should be taken by people of extreme integrity and professional independence, mislead the entire setup, undermine it, to deploy ANC cadres, and then lie about it to Parliament. We obviously can't sit back and take that, and that is why we are laying formal charges.
As the tit-for-tat of public exchanges continued this week, other GNU partners also weighed in on the current state of the coalition. UDM leader Bantu Holomisa has lamented how the ANC continues to behave as though the DA is the only significant party in the arrangement and has encouraged Luthuli House to dialogue with the other 8 organizations.
President Ramaphosa, be firm, just show these people the door. Maybe they can be effective opposition parties outside the government. If I was the president, I would have done so a long time ago, because you cannot violate the agreements which we entered into. Take, for instance, this issue of the dialogue. Everybody has agreed on that in the GNU. All of a sudden now, when their deputy is chased away, they use a blackmail tactic of saying we are not going to go to the dialogue.
Deputy President Paul Mashatile is always on time with his views on the state of the government of national unity, especially when it comes to the DA throwing a tantrum or two. We've always known how Mashatile feels about this specific GNU partner, and the feeling is definitely mutual from Helen Ziller and her crowd. So it came as no surprise that our second-in-command was unfazed by the latest showdown. Mashatile was also not too keen to speaking about weSizwe Holdings and the newly awarded lottery license during his service delivery initiative in Welkom on Tuesday. Here's Karama Fokwane with those details.
National government is stepping in to help struggling municipalities with just months to go until the 2026 local government elections. But projects like these are under threat due to tensions between the 2 biggest GNU partners, the ANC and DA, following the firing of Deputy Trade Minister Andrew Whitfield over an unauthorized trip. Deputy President Paul Mashatile has allayed fears while evaluating services at the Machabeng municipality in the Free State.
The GNU is going to continue. We're going to vote for all budgets. If the DA doesn't vote for any budget, that's their problem, because the budget is not an instrument of a minister.
The deputy president avoided questions surrounding his sister-in-law, who is reportedly linked to the new lottery operator, weSizwe.
I think he answered you already. You can go and talk to him about.
But personally,
does here for lotteries? Yes. Let me focus on what I'm here for.
That's all I have in store for your week in politics. I'm sure by now you know me and can almost predict my movements in the days to come, now that the country is reflecting the life and times of David Mabuza. Newzroom Afrika will hopefully remain your channel of choice for that. There's also going to be a national officials meeting of the MK party this weekend to discuss Floyd Shivambu's latest consultation process and other internal dynamics. So look out for another one of those marathon briefings from the official opposition later in the week. But for now, it's goodbye. Thanks for watching.